Welcome back, everyone. We're doing a deep dive today, and it's going to be a fascinating one. We're taking a look at Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad's Increase Your Financial IQ.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are familiar with Kiyosaki, at least with Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
hmm
This book kind of takes things to the next level. It really gets into the nitty-gritty of what he calls financial intelligence.
Right, and it's not just about, being good at math or understanding the stock market.
That's what I thought at first,
Right.
honestly. But it's much broader than that. He breaks it down into these 5 key areas he calls the 5 financial IQs.
Yeah, he's got making more money, protecting your money, budgeting your money, leveraging your money, and then improving your financial information.
Yeah, and I have to admit, when I first saw those, I was like, okay, some of these seem pretty basic, like budging. But the way he explains them, it's not just the surface level stuff. It really gets you thinking differently about money.
Oh, absolutely. Like, for example, when he talks about protecting your money, he's not just talking about putting it in a savings account. He's talking about understanding how the system works, how taxes can eat away at your wealth, and how to make sure you're not losing money to things you don't even realize.
He's got this whole analogy about financial predators being like bunnies, birds, and bugs. It's kind of funny, but it makes you realize how many things are out there trying to nibble away at your hard-earned money.
Right. And even things that seem safe, like, traditional retirement plans or certain types of investments, he really challenges those conventional approaches.
I was definitely surprised by some of his critiques, especially of things like mutual funds. I mean, isn't diversification supposed to be the golden rule?
He kind of turns that on its head. He's not saying diversification is bad, but he argues that if you truly understand an asset class, like, say, real estate, you don't need to diversify as much. You can focus on what you know and control and potentially get much higher returns.
So it's about knowledge being power.
Exactly. He's all about empowerment, about you becoming your own financial expert and not just blindly trusting someone else to manage your money.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's dive into the first financial IQ, making more money. Now, this seems pretty straightforward, but Kiyosaki has some pretty unconventional views on this
I know,
one.
yeah, for sure. Like, he talks about how he actually left higher paying jobs early in his career to pursue opportunities that would increase his financial intelligence, even if it meant taking a temporary pay cut.
Which seems counterintuitive, right? I mean, most people would think, if I want to make more money, I need to get a job that pays more. But he's saying it's not just about the paycheck. It's about building your financial IQ so that you can eventually make much more money in the long run.
Right. And he emphasizes that it's not always a linear path. He shares stories of his own failures and setbacks, like how his first business, a nylon and Velcro wallet company, completely went under.
He actually lost all his money.
Yeah, and he had to rebuild from scratch. But he sees those setbacks as valuable learning experiences. He says that the process of solving problems, of figuring things out, is what ultimately makes you richer, not just the money itself.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. He also talks about the importance of finding a competitive niche and becoming a brand, which is something he did really well after that initial setback with the wallets.
Right. He realized that there was a market for rock and roll wallets, so he focused on that niche, and it became a huge success.
So it's about finding a need and filling it, but doing it in a way that's unique and memorable.
And he emphasizes that people will pay you to solve their problems. The better you are at identifying and solving problems, the more earning potential you have.
So it's not just about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about using your financial intelligence to create value and find solutions that people are willing to pay for.
Exactly. And that ties into his belief that anyone can become rich, regardless of their background or education. It's about developing that financial IQ and putting it into action.
So it's not just about luck or being born into wealth. It's about having the knowledge and skills to create your own wealth.
And that's really empowering, I think.
I agree. It makes it feel more attainable. Okay, so we've talked about making more money. Now let's move on to protecting your money. And this is where things get a little, well, I don't know, maybe a little scary. He compares financial predators to bunnies, birds, and bugs.
Yeah, it's a funny analogy, but it really drives home the point that even seemingly harmless things can eat away at your wealth if you're not careful.
He even says that even trusted individuals like family members or friends, or even institutions that are supposed to be looking out for you, can sometimes act like these predators.
It's not about being paranoid, but about being informed and aware.
So it's about educating yourself, about understanding how the system works, and about making sure you're not being taken advantage of. And one of the biggest things he warns against is relying solely on government-managed retirement programs for your financial future.
He's pretty skeptical of those, arguing that they can be risky and that you're better off taking control of your own retirement planning.
But isn't that what traditional financial advisors always recommend putting your money into, like 401ks and IRAs?
He does challenge that conventional wisdom, but it's not about being reckless or putting all your eggs in one basket. He's advocating for deep knowledge and understanding.
So you're not just blindly trusting someone else to manage your money, you're actively involved in making decisions about where it goes and how it's invested.
And he's particularly fond of real estate because he sees it as an asset class where you can have more control and leverage.
So knowledge is protection.
Absolutely. And when it comes to financial predators, Kiyosaki really wants you to be aware of things like excessive taxes that disproportionately affect the middle class. He feels that the tax system can often be rigged against those who are employed and earning a paycheck, compared to those who generate wealth through business ownership or investing.
He's also wary of banks, even though they're supposed to be the places we trust with our money.
Right. And it's not that banks are inherently evil or anything. He just wants you to be aware of how they operate and how they profit from the system.
So should we all be keeping our money under our mattresses?
Not exactly.
Sure.
But it is about knowing the rules of the game. He encourages us to become financially savvy enough to choose banks and financial products that truly benefit you, not just the institutions themselves. It's about aligning your financial choices with your goals and being aware of any hidden costs or agendas.
So it's about being an informed consumer, but specifically in the financial realm.
Exactly. It's about becoming financially intelligent enough to spot those bunnies, birds, and bugs before they can nibble away at your hard-earned money.
Okay, so we've talked about making more money and protecting your money, but what about managing it? That brings us to financial IQ number 3, budgeting your money. And this is where we get into some practical strategies. Kiyosaki definitely has strong opinions on this, right?
Oh yeah, and one of the biggest things he stresses is the importance of creating a budget surplus. Not just breaking even, but actually having more money coming in than going out.
So it's about shifting your mindset from just survival to abundance.
Exactly. And he introduces this really interesting concept of paying yourself first.
What does that mean?
It means making your savings, your investments, and even your charitable giving a top priority in your budget. It's not an afterthought, it's the first thing you allocate.
That makes a lot of sense, but it also sounds really tough, especially if you're already struggling to make ends meet. He even says that cutting back on expenses during financial hardship can be counterproductive.
Yeah, that's another one of his ideas that might seem counterintuitive. He argues that focusing on increasing your income can actually be more effective than just trying to scrimp and save every penny.
So it's about expanding your financial capacity, not just shrinking your lifestyle.
Exactly. He uses this really bold example of buying a Bentley, not by spending cash he had on hand, but by leveraging his assets to generate the income to afford it.
That's a pretty extreme example. But I see his point. It's not about reckless spending. It's about using your financial intelligence to create the lifestyle you want.
He also emphasizes the importance of analyzing your spending habits. He says that your expense column in your budget is like a crystal ball that can reveal your future financial trajectory.
So it's about being mindful of where your money is going and making sure your spending aligns with your values and your goals.
Right. And it's about seeing budgeting not as a restriction, but as a tool for empowerment.
I like that. It takes away the negative connotation that budgeting often has.
He encourages us to view it as a way to take control of our finances and create the future we want.
Okay, so we've talked about making money, protecting it, and budgeting it. Now let's move on to something that can be a little intimidating. Leveraging your money. Kiyosaki is definitely a big fan of this concept.
Oh yeah. He sees leverage as a powerful tool for building wealth, but he's also very clear about the risks involved.
He emphasizes that leverage is only truly powerful when you have control over the asset you're investing in. And he uses his own experience with investing in a 300-unit apartment building as an example.
Right. And in that case, he was able to use leverage to create really significant returns because he had control over the property through, strategic management and partnerships.
He actually emphasizes property management as like one of the key factors in his real estate success, even though he admits that he personally hates dealing with it.
Which is why he partners with people who excel in that area, right?
Exactly. It's all about knowing your strengths and delegating the tasks that aren't your forte.
And he highlights how good management can actually increase the value of a property by, raising rents, lowering expenses, and making it more desirable to tenants.
So it's not just about buying any property. It's about finding opportunities where you can create value and use leverage to amplify your returns.
Right. And this highlights one of his criticisms of more traditional investments like stocks and mutual funds. He feels that those often offer less control and involve higher fees. He prefers tangible assets where he can have more direct influence over their performance.
He also makes this distinction between what he calls traders and investors.
Hmm.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
He sees traders as people who are constantly buying and selling, trying to time the market and make quick profits. Investors, on the other hand, are in it for the long haul. They're looking for stable growth and passive income. They're less concerned with short-term fluctuations and more focused on building a solid portfolio of assets that generate cash flow over time.
So it's about having a clear strategy and understanding the nuances of different investment approaches.
Exactly. It's about aligning your investment strategy with your risk tolerance and your financial goals. And he really encourages people to think about what kind of investor they want to be and to develop a plan that reflects their individual circumstances.
Okay, so we've covered making money, protecting it, budgeting it, and leveraging it. Now let's move on to the final financial IQ, improving your financial information. And this is where Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of becoming a lifelong learner, especially in today's world, where things are changing so rapidly.
He believes that information is power and that those who can access, process, and apply information effectively will have a significant advantage in the financial world.
He even goes so far as to say that information is the greatest asset for wealth creation in the information age.
Right. And he stresses the importance of being able to distinguish between facts and opinions, especially when you're making financial decisions. He also emphasizes the importance of understanding the rules of different asset classes, because different rules can favor certain types of investors over others.
Like knowing the game you're playing, right?
Exactly. And he uses a really interesting example from his own life. He talks about his experience with gold in Vietnam during the war and how he was able to make a lot of money because he understood market cycles and how people behave during panics.
He's got a lot of great stories like that in the book. He also tells one about a woman who's selling gold and how she had this incredible financial savvy, even though she had no formal education.
Yeah, that's a great example of how financial intelligence isn't just about, having a fancy degree or a high IQ. It's about street smarts and practical knowledge and the kind of wisdom that you gain from real-world experience.
So it's something that anyone can develop, regardless of their background.
Exactly. And that's one of the most encouraging things about Kiyosaki's message. He believes that anyone can become financially intelligent if they're willing to put in the effort and learn the ropes.
So it's about being a student of the financial world, constantly seeking out knowledge and refining your understanding.
And it's also about developing your instincts and being able to apply your knowledge in practical situations.
So far, we've covered 4 of Kiyosaki's 5 financial IQs. Where do we go from here?
Well, next we'll delve into some additional key points from the book. Things like the importance of interpersonal intelligence, choosing your environment wisely, and even the power of finding your unique talent.
It sounds like we're about to take things even deeper.
Oh, absolutely.
Stay tuned, because we're just getting started.
We were talking about improving your financial information and Kiyosaki's belief that information is the greatest asset in the information age.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he doesn't seem to put as much stock in formal education as you might expect.
Right. He actually uses the example of a woman selling gold in Vietnam who had no formal education, but had this incredible financial intuition.
He contrasts her with all these, highly educated people who might lack the practical knowledge and street smarts to navigate the real world of finance.
He's a big believer in combining knowledge from different sources, not just textbooks and classrooms, but also real-world experiences, mentorships.
Yeah, and even observing people who are already succeeding in the areas you're interested in.
He talks about the power of mirror neurons, the idea that we subconsciously mimic the behaviors of those around us.
So if you surround yourself with people who are financially successful, you're more likely to adopt their habits and mindsets.
Exactly. He encourages readers to choose their environment wisely, surround themselves with people who support their financial goals.
It's like if you're constantly hanging out with people who are struggling financially, it's hard to envision a different path for yourself.
But if you're exposed to people who are thriving, it can really open up new possibilities.
Speaking of environment, let's talk about Kiyosaki's approach to real estate investing. He's clearly a big fan of tangible assets, especially real estate.
He sees it as a game where you can stack the odds in your favor if you know the rules.
And one of those rules is finding good partners.
Right. He actually quotes Donald Trump saying, "You cannot do a good deal with bad partners."
Makes sense, especially in real estate, where deals can be complex and involve a lot of moving parts.
He emphasizes partnering with people who bring different skills and expertise to the table.
Like Ken McElroy, who owns a property management company.
Exactly. Kiyosaki relies on McElroy's expertise because property management is crucial for maximizing returns.
He even admits that he hates dealing with it himself.
So he partners with someone who excels in that area. It's a smart strategy. Focus on your strengths and delegate the rest.
He also highlights how good management can increase rents, lower expenses, and ultimately drive up the value of the property.
He gives the example of a 300-unit apartment building where they implemented a plan to increase rents by $100 per unit.
Wow, that's a significant jump.
It resulted in a huge boost to annual revenue. It shows his belief in actively creating value through management, not just waiting for appreciation.
And of course, he loves using leverage to amplify returns.
But he stresses that leverage should only be used when you have control over the asset.
Meaning you understand the market, you have a solid management team, and you're confident in your ability to generate cash flow.
He talks about using the bank's money to finance improvements that increase the property's value.
It's like the classic OPM other people's money.
What?
Exactly. But he's very clear that it's not risk-free. You need a solid plan and a deep understanding of the asset.
He also emphasizes understanding ROI, return on investment, and specifically focusing on cash flow.
He only counts cash flow as a true return, not just asset appreciation.
So he's looking for investments that generate consistent income, not just potential for future profits.
Right. He's a big fan of using IRR, internal rate of return, which is a more sophisticated way of measuring ROI.
Because it takes into account the time value of money, right?
Exactly. And it helps you assess the true profitability of an investment over its lifespan.
He also mentions the tax advantages of real estate investing, like depreciation and amortization.
He's a master at using the tax code to his advantage.
So it's not just about finding a good property. It's about understanding the financial and legal intricacies of real estate.
He really dives into those details because that's where the opportunities lie.
And he doesn't shy away from challenging conventional wisdom, like diversifying your investments.
He believes that if you truly understand an asset class, diversification can be a sign of ignorance.
It's like he's saying, focus on what you know, rather than spreading yourself too thin.
But he acknowledges that this approach requires a lot of confidence and a willingness to accept a higher level of risk.
He also stresses starting small and gradually increasing your leverage as you gain experience.
It's about building a solid foundation and not taking on more than you can handle.
And it all comes back to his emphasis on finding your own path, not just blindly following someone else's formula.
He believes that everyone has unique strengths and talents.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach?
Exactly. It's about understanding the principles of financial intelligence and applying them in a way that aligns with your personal circumstances.
Now, besides all the technical stuff about finance, he also talks about the importance of intrapersonal intelligence.
Right. That's the ability to manage your emotions, overcome fear, and develop resilience.
Because fear can be a major obstacle to success.
Absolutely. It can prevent people from taking risks or making decisions that are in their best interests.
He encourages facing your fears head-on and learning to control your emotions.
He believes that emotional resilience is essential for making sound financial decisions.
So much of what he talks about comes back to mindset. It's not just about the numbers, it's about your attitude and beliefs about money.
He's a strong advocate for positive thinking and surrounding yourself with supportive people.
He also talks about the importance of finding your unique talent and leveraging it within the right environment.
He believes that everyone has a genius, something they're uniquely good at.
And that the key is to identify that talent and create a path that allows you to express it fully.
He uses the example of a talented hairstylist friend who is afraid to open his own salon.
He's encouraging him to take the leap and create an environment where his talent can flourish.
It highlights his belief that financial success isn't just about making money, but also about finding your passion and creating a life of purpose.
It's about achieving financial freedom, where you have the time and resources to pursue your dreams.
And he believes that this is achievable for anyone who is willing to put in the work and develop their financial intelligence.
So what are some practical steps listeners can take to start building their financial IQ? What can they do today?
I would say, first and foremost, educate yourself. Read books, attend seminars, listen to podcasts.
There's a ton of information available both online and offline.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Start small, but be willing to try new things.
Finding a mentor or coach can also be incredibly valuable.
Someone who has already achieved the level of success you're striving for.
Surrounding yourself with financially intelligent people is also crucial.
Create a network of support and inspiration that will keep you motivated.
And maybe most importantly, believe in yourself. You have the potential to achieve anything.
It all starts with belief. If you don't believe in yourself, it will be harder to convince others to invest in you.
Kiyosaki also emphasizes taking action. It's not enough to just consume information. You have to apply what you learn.
He's a big believer in learning by take calculated risks experiment, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Because mistakes are inevitable, but they're also valuable learning opportunities.
Exactly. And don't give up on your dreams, even when you face setbacks.
He's a great example of someone who's faced numerous challenges but never gave up.
He's a true inspiration, showing that it's possible to achieve financial freedom and live a life of purpose.
So as we transition to the next part of our deep dive, let's recap some of the key takeaways from Kiyosaki's book.
He emphasizes developing those 5 financial IQs, making more money, protecting it, budgeting it, leveraging it, and constantly improving your financial knowledge.
He also highlights interpersonal intelligence, managing emotions, overcoming fear, and developing resilience.
He believes everyone has a unique talent and encourages finding the right environment to leverage that talent.
And he urges readers to become financially intelligent by actively learning, taking action, and persevering through setbacks.
He provides a roadmap for achieving financial freedom through knowledge, action, and mindset.
His book is a valuable resource for anyone who wants to take control of their financial future.
Now let's explore how you can actually put these principles into practice and start building your own financial intelligence.
That's the exciting part. It's not just theory. It's about taking tangible steps to create the financial future you desire. Okay, so we've talked about the 5 financial IQs, and we've even touched on some of Kiyosaki's more unconventional ideas.
Right, like his critiques of traditional retirement planning and diversification.
But I'm still curious about the practical side of things. Like, how do you actually start developing these financial IQs? Where do you even begin?
Well, Kiyosaki has some specific suggestions that might surprise you. He's a big advocate for network marketing training programs.
Really? Network marketing.
Right.
I wouldn't have expected that.
I know it might seem a little out there, but he's not necessarily endorsing the business model itself.
So it's not about selling products.
Not exactly. He sees those programs as valuable training grounds for developing essential skills.
Like what kind of skill?
Things like building relationships, effective communication, handling rejection. Skills that are crucial for entrepreneurs in any industry.
Oh, I see. So it's more about the personal development aspect.
Right, and he points out that network marketing often provides a very supportive learning environment.
Which could be helpful, especially if you're new to the world of business and finance.
Exactly. It's like having a built-in community of mentors and peers who are all on a similar journey.
Okay, so network marketing for personal development. What about the more technical stuff like real estate or the stock market?
Well, Kiyosaki's company, Rich Dad, offers seminars on those topics, but he's very specific about who he chooses as instructors.
What does he look for?
He wants people who are actively investing, not just teaching from textbooks.
So real-world experience is key.
Absolutely. He describes seminars where you're actually going out looking at properties, making offers.
Wow, so it's very hands-on.
He even talks about his land development courses where participants are working on real projects.
That sounds intense.
It is, but it's also incredibly valuable because you're learning by doing.
And it all ties back to his belief that entrepreneurs are made, not born.
Right. He uses the example of kids who naturally start businesses, like lemonade stands or babysitting.
They haven't learned to be afraid of failure yet.
Exactly. And he argues that it's that combination of knowledge and courage that creates successful entrepreneurs.
He tells this great story about 2 hairstylists. One is super talented, but afraid to open his own salon. The other is less skilled, but full of hustle and determination.
And guess who ends up building a successful business?
The one who takes action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talent alone isn't enough. You need that drive to put yourself out there.
And this brings us back to the importance of environment. Kiyosaki actually disagrees with the common advice to live below your means.
He thinks that constantly limiting yourself creates a poverty mindset.
So it's about expanding your horizons, thinking bigger.
Right. He wants you to focus on abundance, not scarcity.
It's like that saying, you can't be what you can't see. If you're constantly surrounded by limitations, it's hard to imagine anything else.
Exactly. So surround yourself with success. Read books, attend seminars, connect with people who are already achieving what you want.
Create a learning environment that supports your growth.
So to answer your question about where to go from here, I think Kiyosaki would say, find your genius and find your environment.
Figure out what you're uniquely good at, and then create a path that allows you to fully express that talent.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. Step outside your comfort zone.
Find mentors who can guide you and a community that supports your goals.
Most importantly, believe in yourself and your ability to achieve financial success.
Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into Kiyosaki's Increase Your Financial IQ.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the 5 financial IQs to his unconventional views on investing and the importance of mindset and environment.
And we've explored some practical steps you could take to start building your own financial intelligence.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving towards your financial goals.
And don't forget to have fun along the way.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.